Thank you for joining the board this evening. This meeting is a work session, meaning that the board is here tonight to discuss a potential building project, but mainly property tax impacts. Dr. Apple has hosted several town halls in the past, which were trying to see the interest in a school project before impact studies were done. This meeting will focus on how our taxes will be affected by a possible project. Since this is a work session, no vote will be taken tonight. Public comment will be limited to this topic only. This board has done significant research on how property taxes are applied so that we can see how the impact of an additional tax would be and do our best to show this to our community tonight. Our tax information comes from Banker Tilly, a advisory firm. Mr. Jeff Hammond's the representative tonight that did present much of the information that we are sharing tonight at the last board meeting. Many may ask, how did we get to this point? A little background. In 2022, multiple properties sold between Lanesville and the interstate, or became available for sale. A few of them were bought by people wishing to build a subdivision. The first tract of land was 141 homes were approved in a few different phases, and they're starting to be built right now. Then a 350 house subdivision concept was approved. Was that by the council?
The planning and zoning.
Okay, approved by the planning and zoning, but has been put on hold for sure capacity and a final plat layout. Lanesville School Corporation was able to buy a tract of land on the northwest corner of Ponderosa and Crandall-Lanesville for a new building project in the future. That was one of those tracts that came up for sale. In 2024, the board looked at a possible referendum for 2025. However, in late 2024 and in early 2025, we were hearing from Indianapolis that Senate Bill 1 would have major impacts on referendums, and it did. With Senate Bill 1 last spring, referendums that once could be held at any election now have to be held only on major elections, which would be Novembers of even years only. So Senate Bill 1 killed any referendums for the fall of 2025. A referendum project takes about 6 to 7 months before the voters see it. The numbers we are presenting are real facts, historical data, and advisory data. There is no sugarcoating and no way of making tax increases a happy discussion. With that said, possible tax increases. With that said, I will hand over the meeting to Dr. Apple to go through some of the data we have received this year.
Thank you, Mr. Linden. If you guys want to step over there.
Like right here.
Yeah. A board work session, so you guys are the ones that look at this. Just for reference, 2026 numbers, our overall school tax draw. What that means is of every $100 of assessed value that your property has, 64 cents comes to Lanesville Community School Corporation on the 14 cents of that is operational referendum. That is the second iteration of that. Morris, the superintendent, that was passed on 2 different occasions. Talked multiple times. Financially, right now, the school corporation is really big. That referendum sunsets in 2027. We think at this point in time we can let that sunset in 2027, knowing full well that if the corporation finds itself in difficult times again, that service rate is really, really low, under 20 cents, 1969. And then our operations fund is at 34.9. And so that is where we are, 64.23. That's how that number we get. The state average is a little over $1.02, almost $1.03. That was the 2025 number. I don't have the 2026 number. Those things are being compiled. And again, that is based on $100 of assessed value. If you live within our boundaries, Franklin Township, if you don't live in the town limits, Franklin Township, you pay a little over 45 cents for Franklin Township in 2026. If you live in the town of Lanesville, that's 52 cents, almost 53 cents. So if you put them together, your combined tax bill for us, now this is an average. There are different deductions, all kinds of things, but this is the average. If you live in Franklin Township, almost $1.10 is your total tax draw. If you live in the town of Lanesville, you're looking at $1.16, almost $1.17 is your total tax draw. That's combining the town, county, school, everything. For comparison, school corporations around us, if you remember, we were 64 cents. Crawford County was $1.22. North Harrison, 70 cents. South Harrison, 53. New Albany Floyd is $1.04. Borden Henryville, and you see going down through there. In our area, in the counties around us, the highest sitting there is Crawford County at $1.22. If you look at Harrison County, different townships, different towns, Blue River Township, $1.02 or $1.23, excuse me. And that's their total tax draw. That is the corporation, the school corporation, sitting there with them, and the township. Heath Township, you can see. So you can see all of those. Definitely the outlier there is Milltown, Spencer Township at almost $3. I didn't dive into why for us tonight. That doesn't matter. But that gives you a good reference of where we are and where everybody else is. Mr. Hammond in January went through some numbers with us. We were talking preliminary earlier before the 2025 legislation set where taxes were overhauled. We looked at potentially a $45 million, a $55 million, and a $65 million project. Just for reference, what this is talking about, these upper lines are just the school draw. The first half would be the increase. And so currently our entire school draw is 64 cents for a $45 million project, and that is a small elementary school, essentially. And that's really the 45 millions. Not putting anything in here that is a bare bones elementary school. You're looking at an increase of roughly $1.11. This is based off of, and down below, it indicates letting the current operational referendum sunset in 27. And so really and right now that's capped at 17 cents, but it's pulling 14 cents right now. We don't pull the full amount. And so really that $1.11, if that were on there, then it would be another 14 cents if we didn't let that sunset. But that's what that number is. Plus, based on 20-year repayment structure, 5% interest rate, and 12% standard deduction. So that's where those come from. Your total tax draw then for the school, $1.61. So about $1 higher than what it is now, off of $100 assessed value. Add that to your regular taxes on your home for the township, for the town, all the other taxes. You're looking at $2.07 for Franklin Township, $2.14 for the town of Lanesville. $55 million project. That number goes up even higher. You're looking at an additional $1.36 added to your tax bill. So you take off the 14 cents. We didn't calculate the full 17 because we don't pull the full 17. We cap it at 500,000 and we don't draw the entire amount. Then you're looking at $1.86 for your school tax draw.
When you combine that with your other taxes, and again, these are the 2025 tax or 2026 tax numbers. In the future, that could raise, but these are the estimates based off of that. You're looking at $2.31, almost $2.32. And if you live in town, it's $2.39. And so you're just roughly over a dollar now. So now you're looking really significant increase. $65 million project. This is more of a high school type build. They calculate that to be between 65 and 70. And again, that probably wouldn't touch anything here on this facility. You're looking at $1.61, then $2.11 total. When you factor in what is there, that $1.61 is just the new debt showing up. Combine that with your other taxes, Franklin Township, you're looking at $2.56, almost $2.57, and in the town of Lanesville, essentially $2.64. So you're going from a little bit over a dollar to $2.60 something cents. We looked at and the board was provided with some historical data on referendums, just so we could see what that looks like. This, assuming it pulls up, tracks all the way back to 2010. This upper part shows the average of the referendums passed that year. May have been 1, may have been 5. The lower is what failed, and it shows the year, May, November. Now we can only go in November, but then you could do that either one. What you guys were able to see, again, based on $100 of assessed valuation through the years, the highest average was 54 cents. And I believe November of 24, what we look at later, you can see what calculated into that. And so for us here at Lanesville, a small project, $45 million for a small elementary, if we're looking at a referendum, would essentially be double anything that we've seen there. Then what failed down here, the highest that we've seen is 81 cents as the average. I went through, and what you'll see here in a minute is historically every referendum from 2010 to 2024, passed, failed, what happened. The board has had this information. You guys have hopefully looked through it just to get some reference. When you look here at Kokomo in 2024, you pull up the resolution, and it tells you the percentage. It tells you the tax rate, 26 cents. It goes through all of those things for you. I've been through almost all of these. Haven't seen anything near what we're going to ask if we go down a referendum path. Significantly higher. And in a lot of conversations I've had with different superintendents, with Mr. Hammond and a few others, with bond counsel at Ice Miller, when I throw those numbers at them, most people haven't heard of such an ask. But it's important that we know that. It's important that we look at the traditional or the historical trends. And so we were able to see what has typically passed, what hasn't. In conversations with Mr. Hammond, he has told me that in his research, that tipping point is typically around 30 cents. Once you get above 30 cents, it becomes increasingly difficult. I know Silver Creek was asking for 30 cents, and that referendum was defeated 94-6. But this gives you every referendum going through, and you can see what passed, what failed. When it says passed, certified, all the way down to 2010. It tells you.
They have operational references.
On this form, you have to go through and pull it. On this sheet, you can go through and click on construction, and it'll show you what that was. And so since this one didn't move, and I don't know, I'd have to reference it with the other one. I don't know if that was 151 cent or if it was everything that year was construction. But yeah, so what you have deciphered this out, and then the general fund then shows you operational referendums. There will be a lot of operational referendums this year, by far more than in the past. Now I got to figure out how to get out of this thing. Wait. So you've seen those. Now we've got a few options. First option here at Lanesville is you do absolutely nothing. Status quo. We've got our rooms filled, but we do nothing. That's one option. Option two, I should say two here, but it says one is continue to push forward with potentially a referendum, knowing what those tax impacts are going to be. There are a couple more options. I may have Mr. Hammond here. Some of these get kind of intricate. There is a first mortgage bonding issue process. That's what we looked at before with Mr. Morris the last time. You're allowed to have 1% of your gross assessed value, which is for us is $546,237 or $237,430 to be used for a controlled project. And so that equates out to $5.46 million that you can put towards a project. We have a couple of those on the books right now. The 2017 and 2018 bonding issues were that type of project. Those go through the building corporation. And so they hold that debt. And that's how that works. What you can't do there is you can't go above that number. What you could potentially do is have multiple projects. They have to be different in scope, but that is a possibility. I don't know what exactly that looks like right now, what justifies or constitutes different scope of projects. I don't know if one year and one the next. Those are things that we would have to research further. Another option is the petition and process for projects more than 1%, but not outside of the tax caps. What that does is that 5 point, and there's also a number value, 19 million, 18 million, somewhere in that ballpark. We don't hit that. The 1%. Anything over that, but less than what we would have to generate through outside of tax caps, can be done through that process. We would have to talk more with our bond counsel on what that number is, the tax cap number for us, what that would have to stay in to see if that is feasible. One thing that does have with it is a 30-day window, petition window. And here for Lanesville, it would be probably 5% of our voting population would have to say, nope, I 100% don't want that, and they would have to sign that petition. Then that would end that project. You can see, and I've got it, and there's a sheet for both of them, but this is why, as you can see, we would have to really rely on our bond counsel and rely on our financial advisors just to be sure on those types of projects, and really any of them. But they can be kind of complex, and that number is $19,051 or $51,397, or 1% of the total gross assessed value, more than the lesser of the two. So for us, it would be that 1% because we're nowhere near $19 million. And so if you as the board decide that, yes, we still need to do that, those numbers for referendum do not look favorable. There are other options. It may be doing things in stages. It may be all at once. Those would take us here. We had previous conversations. A few of you were on the board, a few of you weren't. When we first started looking at a building project, we looked at the petition or remonstrative process. We quickly learned that we would not be able to generate enough revenue. Other places can. If you drive around Greater Clark, for example, they've got schools being built all over the place, but they've got gross assessed values in the billions of dollars. where we're $500,000. So that limits the scope that we've got. Those of you that were around with Mr. Morris when we looked at additions here, that is that same process. So even if you as the board decide that is too big of an ask to take us from one of the lowest tax rates in the state to by far one of the highest, there are still options here on this footprint, on this campus. Had some conversations with architects, some different unique and creative things. Might lose a side parking spot, a little side parking lot. We've got areas across the front that aren't used for anything right now. So there are options. I'm going to be honest with you. The one thing right now that this doesn't do, which we all would kind of like, is bring a gym into that. I'm one, and Mr. Powers there knows because he's in the same boat. 7 to 9 practice every night. Man, that gets old. So we might have to get creative. Part of that might be also depending on if it's a series of projects. We still have 46 acres. And so it could be building a field house type place there. It could be talking with some of our local entities that have gym space. May have to get creative on a few things. We've added wrestling. We're trying to add more things for our students to engage them. But there are other options. If you decide not to go down that road, if you decide to go down the referendum road, then that decision needs to be made really pretty quickly so we can get those steps in line. Mr. Hammond, do you have any additional input on either one of these two processes?
My input would be, Dr. really, whatever is decided, all a bond council who follow because with determining such what you don't want about, not what that's something that they will absolutely. So I don't really have anything to add. But a lot of those things.
Yeah, they are complex to say the least. Mr. Lynn, that is the information I have to share with the board tonight.
Wherever, open up for discussion with the board.
Before we lose sight of all the information that was shared, and there was a lot of it, you heard a lot of numbers and a lot of different things called. I did a little work on my own tax bill, and we'll probably get deeper into that in a little bit. But the $45 million project, if that were to be on a referendum, I looked at my current tax bill and I plugged in the numbers of what the increases would be. My house is small. It's a little bit older. So the assessment is a little bit older because of age. It would appraise a lot higher. But anyway, on my particular house, right now, my total tax bill is right at $600 a year. To take the cheapest thing on my assessment, my tax bill would go up to $1,200. It would double. I have the tax information is public record. I can look at anybody's, but I didn't want to do that, so I picked on a family member. So, Cody, it's you, buddy. My son lives out in Whitetail Woods.
Mr. Hillsong, you had half the room shaking.
Yeah, everybody. Currently, my son's, and it's public record son, so I'm not. His tax bill is just above $2,500 a year. If we did the cheapest thing, his tax bill would go to $5,200. His assessment is in that 250 range, and that's going to hit a lot of homes in this area. There are homes in this area bigger than that 250 range. So if you're in one of those homes that's going to be $700,000, $750,000 valuation, You could almost buy a secondhand car.
Mr. Hussong, in our school corporation within Franklin Township, the median is 239,000.
Right, that's
So
a
it's not
median.
far from that.
Yeah, but then there are a lot of homes that exceed that. So I hope maybe that brought a little more perspective to everything Dr. Apple was sharing, because I mean, until it hits home, it really doesn't mean, 62 cents, that's no big deal. Yeah. So that,
Well, I want to add to that real quick. So between both of them, so the average, this is data given to us by Jeff Hammond, 239,600 in the $45 million project, which would be a small elementary, bare bones. It would increase $1,202.69. And then for just for another reference, so that's the average home in Franklin Township. For another reference, 100 acres of agricultural land. That's all. Do you know what that was zoned at? It says 3. Is that just considered land, or
It's the term, so to get to that kind of, will be put back to 5.
okay?
That's just using 2,000.
Okay, so that would go, 100 acres, well, 1 acre of land would increase on the small project $20.82. On 100 acres, it would be $2,081.70. So I just want to let we have Donnie give that, and Dr. Apple said the average, and then what besides houses we have farms.
We have a lot of farms.
Board want to say anything else before we open?
Well, I asked a question. Dr. Apple will remember when we were here when Steve Morris was working on it, and we had some drawings done of adding on to the school. Do you remember, did any of those have prices on them?
Yeah, they all,
Each
each of those had that at that time. Back then, the assessed value has gone up significantly in the last 5 years. And so the scope of those projects were right around 4 million at the cap. But each one showed for $1.5 million and for 2 million, or roughly that. But yeah, each one of them showed at that time what that was estimated at.
How much, do you remember how much space we could gain? How many classrooms?
The most of those were taking out the library now,
Right.
filling in the courtyard with a new library, then turning in, I think, 6 classrooms.
Okay, so we could gain 6 classrooms, but there are different configurations. That doesn't mean we would have to stick with that one. We could add an extra.
Correct. I've had conversations over the last month with a few architects. Side parking lot right now that's used by a few teachers. During the day, we usually have more. We're heard of sometimes graduation, some of those things. Being able to put a 2-story addition there. What they're telling me is 2 stories cheaper, because you don't have to do the foundation twice. Probably 6 and 6. We've also had a few that have talked about going across the front. We've got that kind of wasted space there. That would do a few things for us. Help the facade of the building, help update and make the building look modern. Help do some security to the entrances that are needed. And so we've looked at various different things there.
The courtyard, also another option. We've looked at that too.
Yeah, the issue with the courtyard, and it's not as much as it used to, getting them in.
Yeah.
Moving the HVAC units, because they're all, except for one, are at the bottom. So you got to put those up on top.
Mhm.
And then then you lose light in those classrooms, which is fine. It's not needed anymore. But there's some hurdles there, but definitely done. Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you.
what's difficult for me in this whole process is trying to put your head around cost. I'm not the oldest person in the room, but I was here 35 years ago when we went through the building expansion for this facility. It increased our taxes. The state denied it a couple of times. We appealed it, and we finally went to Indianapolis, and they voted in favor and raised our taxes. Hard to imagine what our taxes were then, because 35 years now, we're at 63 cents. So there we probably went from 12 cents to 29 cents. But this campus, this facility total cost was $7.2 million. Now we can't even get an elementary school less than $30 million. And our assessed valuation in the township, while seems high at $545 million, to get the kind of tax income we would want without raising the taxes tremendously, we'd have to be another Clarksville. And I don't want Veterans Highway down the middle of Lanesville.
Well, didn't we also have a demographic study done at that time to see what the growth possibilities would be?
No, it wasn't at that time.
It
We
was
did that.
later.
Yeah, we
Okay.
did that since I've been here.
And that was not indicating a great bunch of growth.
It showed a slight increase and then leveling off,
Right.
and then a slight dip back to where we are now. I think we all kind of agree, though, when I had that conversation with Dr. McKibben, and he's the one that does all of them.
Mhm.
He was at Ball State. Now he's working down in Alabama, but he does all of them in Indiana. Had conversations about subdivisions and that kind of stuff. What he looked at was birth rate more than anything. We currently here in Franklin Township have 616 school-age children that live within our borders,
Okay.
and that is down from last year by a few kids.
But you also got options of smaller projects
Yeah.
done periodically too, here on campus is what we're saying. The $5.5 million projects are pretty much, I should okayed. I'm just saying we can build something and then the next year have another project started at the same, maybe $2 million, whatever.
Potentially,
so it's
yes.
not such a massive tax increase.
And the 2017 and 2018 bond issuances, they have the 17 is on a 10-year amortization schedule. The 18 is on, I think, a 14 or 15 year, but it is backloaded. And so what that gave the ability to do is when it falls off, you will pick up what you had there, but we pretty much say tax neutral all the way through. So what you're saying on that front end, it wasn't a huge impact. They put it back on the back end of the 18, knowing that when the 17 fell off, then it would level out pretty much. You would maybe see a little bump, but there are some ways. But like Mr. Hammond said, those are things that your bond counsel, attorneys, and people like him, financiers that are versed in that area, that would walk us through those steps on what would be best for us if you go down that road.
And I want to add something that Donnie said about being next Clarksville. You'll see South Harrison do a bunch of projects, but this report came out January 15th of 2026. South Harrison's certified assessed value is $1.69 billion, whereas ours is $355 million. So when you look at that, that's almost 7-8 times the difference. So you've got 7 or 8 times the area to spread that tax over. So a $40 million building would only, their taxes would be 7 to 8 times lower than what ours would. I'm saying that right? Yeah, because the assessed value, because you're spreading those taxes over. So that's the reason you'll see big corporations. I think he said earlier, Greater Clark, you'll see new schools being built and their tax rates don't go up much, but they've got 20, 30, 40 times the area to spread it over. We're very small at $355 million.
And industry plays a big
And
part
yeah,
of that.
industry.
Plays a big
And-
part in Clarksville.
And all this, the excitement was created because all of a sudden we've got 141 home subdivision going in. Then we've got plans for 350 more that have put on hold because we don't have the sewer capacity yet. The sewer plant is expanding, but I don't know if the growth is going to make it feasible to add on to. It's just a combination of money and people and all that, because the expansion right now isn't even intended for that growth, is it? It's for more of the interstate.
Yeah, do you mind?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so as far as the neighborhoods that Donnie's talking about, the 141 houses are already being built. We do not have sewer capacity at this current time to handle all that once it comes online, as well as whatever's going to come in at the interstate in terms of a gas station or whatever it is they add up there. We are in the process of expanding the plant. This year, we'll break ground on a plant expansion that will double the size of the plant. The 350 houses, they came to us a few months ago asking, I guess they had already been given kind of preliminary approval from planning and zoning, conditional approval. They came to us and we do not have capacity, nor will we plan on getting capacity. We would have to build another plant that would be the size of what we're going to double the current plant to. So essentially, we'd have to quadruple our capacity to handle that 350 houses. The estimate is between $4 and $6 million to build a second plant, and we have no plans or desire to do that. So unless they want to, they have the option where they could put in septics, and there would be larger plots, be fewer homes. But at this point, there's been no indication that they want to do that, and we as a town are we have no plans on changing our stance on that.
Years ago, you had developers coming in and they would put in package treatment system.
We talked about that.
The problem those developers got into, they paid a premium for ground. They can't afford to put $4 or $5 million in a package plant when they've already got $50,000 an acre in their ground and try to sell a house for what they'd have to get out of it. So the 350, while it's threatening, I don't think it's immediate danger, but the 141 is going to impact us. Demographics project population growth, but in Franklin Township, just think about available land. Any available land is, other than that, is land that are in generational farms. And that land probably is not going to be available for a long time. So I don't know too much other growth than what's going to be around the interstate. And it seems like the biggest part of that's put off for a little bit.
And I want to echo what James said. That was that about late October, November when you all kind of put the axe on, or put.
October.
So when at the beginning of this year we were possibly looking around 500 homes. Well, now all of a sudden with that being put on hold, we're back down to 141. So that's been a big change that I don't think a lot of people have seen, because I didn't read about it until James told me back in probably December, November. So that's been something that has changed. Lynn, let me ask Lynn first.
I just want to ask if, and maybe they have the answer, but Dr. Apple mentioned that 30-cent increase is usually palatable to the voters in a referendum. Do we know what that math guy, do we know what that math is? If our taxes went up to 30 cents, what would that mean as far as what would be available then to the, like, is that a $28 million project? Is that a
That's what I would
$1
think.
project? And then
20
from
cents.
there, what could we do with that? Like, could we do some building here? Could we build a gym on the land there on Ponderosa?
Well, if 45 million is $1.10.
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
30 cents.
I would have to run some numbers to get an exact answer. I can tell you it won't be 28 million, unfortunately. I cannot do that in my head. But that's certainly something that we could look at, though, is what would 30 cents say provide in terms of a dollar amount. But I know it won't be as high as 28 million, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I would just like to see maybe, like the proposals are a lot. So if there's something a reasonable amount that you could actually do something with it. Well, not money, something meaningful for school. But, you know, it means that.
Yeah. Not gonna kill you. No,
Yeah, and that's when Dr. Apple was talking about options. Those are the options we would look at right now. When the land was purchased and we got in the motion of a referendum by November, that, I mean, that's a little fast. And now it looks like we might, I guess we don't want to make a decision. We're not having a referendum when 90% of the people, yes, I want to pay $12,000 a year on my house taxes. I don't think that's the case. But we didn't want anybody thinking if they don't have the referendum, they're never going to do anything. We know we have to do something.
Well, the problem is though, that in Indianapolis, you don't have the referendum in 26, you gotta wait until 28.
Right, and you got to go for less.
Yeah.
And you got to go for less.
Well, if you try a referendum that doesn't pass.
Right.
You have to go
Yeah.
for less. But I'm saying if you don't feel like the votes are there and you decide we're just not gonna, we're gonna put anything in 26, then you gotta wait. till 28.
Yeah, you can't
You're
do,
not building until 30.
You can't do spring
anymore.
Yeah.
You can do municipal elections, you can't do a special election. You used to be able to do all of those things. You no longer can. You're exactly correct.
My question was if there's any resources or if you guys looked into the opportunities, grants, federal, state level that
Sure.
I did just a quick search on it and there's various things, I don't know, because the elementary there is a way you can tap into some of you money, federal or a state grant that would.
there's safe school grants, things like that. You can get those too. Just depends on.
Yeah, so, I
Crawford.
mean, if we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
10 million, if they can.
Yeah.
Crawford County is doing a project right now, and you probably know a lot about it. I think it's a band room, but it's at the same time it's a shelter room, and they're getting a high percentage. But
Through FEMA.
Ryan's looked at building some, I don't know what you call it, community center.
Yeah, looking at, it's really essentially reunification. It would be and you need to partner, and Mr. Powers, about a year or two ago, kind of had some preliminary conversations. You need to partner with your local governments as a potential reunification area. You could potentially do a building. That would be more of like your gym area, your additional gym, field house, those kinds of things. Then the FEMA safe rooms, those are an option. I don't know the hoops of those. I don't know if they have to be cleared, if they have to say you need it. I don't know those details yet, but I know some of those things. And it obviously wouldn't pay for everything, but maybe a portion. And then also we do some building. There are also some rebate type things. If you go run geothermal or do whatever else, you might be able to tap into some of those as well.
Yeah, we Dr. Apple, and we've looked into what we can find, but a lot of the problem is federal funds are starting after COVID. They're starting to dry up pretty quick. Okay, I think Mike was next.
Well, I was just wondering if you do the 30 cents, and you also do a bonded program the same year?
Are you talking?
And what I don't know is what we would have to do. I don't know, 30 cents, I don't know. We would have to go for
On 30 cents. I don't know if that would work through, the petition or demonstrative process. I don't know if we can get in under that. Those are things we'd have to figure out. But if you do that, if you do the 30 cents and then some other project, I mean, that's still just adding to the taxes.
Yeah.
The same way. Everything you do is going to raise taxes. It's just how much.
And if I can add to that a little bit, it's not the referendum question is not based on a tax rate. You could technically do a non-controlled project without a referendum for $2 or $3 million, repay it in 1 year, and it could have a 30-cent impact to the tax rate. So the referendum question is more based on the size of the project, the scope of the project, and less on the tax rate. The tax rate just comes out based on a formula that is your annual payment towards the bonds divided by your net assessed value times 100. That's how you get to that tax rate. So you could still back into, if people were comfortable with the 30-cent increase to the tax rate, what then does that mean in terms of an annual payment in a bond issue? There's ways you could kind of reverse engineer and get to an amount. But just the tax rate is not what triggers any kind of referendum question.
Eric?
Yeah, James Powers, and the town council president from Lanesville.
No. We could make it.
I've got that number for you.
400.
As of October the 1st, and that's the count day, there are 616 school-age kids that are here. Of those, 464 come here, so about 75%. So about a whole quarter of the kids that live here don't come here. Where they go, public transfers out, 101, and then non-public. So those are your private school kids. Those then are the rest. But that doesn't take into account 4 are your homeschool kids. And so really that number's probably higher because we know we do have a lot of homeschool kids here. And so really we probably break even. We are one of the only corporations that have net positive transfers, and we hear quite often, let's not let those out of school kids in. It's really about a wash if you throw in the homeschool kids. So our transfer kids were about 36% this year, 267 of them. And so you look at that, we're positive 115. If you don't have those transfer kids coming in, you're looking at $2 million shortfall from where we are now. That number is about $2 million that we'd have to fire teachers and figure out what to do, or administrators or custodians or whatever. 731 on October 1 count day. That's what our ADM's based off of.
Dr. Apple, that for kids that go to private school, that would include our St. John's kids that probably will come here as freshmen.
If they live in district, yes. Yeah, if they live outside of our district, no.
So it's not like we may never see them.
No, yeah, some do. Some trickle in. And with open enrollment, we've been one that have benefited from it. But years ago, we used to talk about transient schools where kids come and go, and that's everybody now. Kids come and go and come and go. And most of the St. John's kids we do get.
Robert?
I think we all know in this room, everybody in this room wouldn't be here tonight if you didn't like us. Keep to this stage here. But you gotta be realistic, this is a mighty big pill to swallow. And if we take the referendum the way I see it, right now, I'm afraid it will fail for the base of those figures. And then it just takes longer to ever come back again. Has anything, we all know parking is a very, parking is difficult here around a sporting event. Has anything been studied as far as having a field house over there on that acreage? Enough so you have your practice sessions out there. James wouldn't have maybe have your 7 to 9 practice. You have maybe a couple of gyms over there, so you could hold sectionals. Well, sectionals a little different, but when you have all this, what I want to say, intramural sports where you have to pay for attendance, it's a moneymaker. School is a business.
You're talking about travel, hosting like travel.
Yes,
Travel
travel.
volleyball.
So all that revenue, other than sectionals, when you have a sectional, that is split. That revenue is split among the among the schools that's being played, correct? So when you have when you hold an event like that, that money all stays right here. You could use that money to whatever. Have a facility over there for the gym, have enough parking, even maybe have the graduation there. Have big, whenever you have activities to where You're gonna need a lot of parking, that's where you have it for right now, and then put out here where you just said, I was even thinking about if you do away with that elementary gym, that would, that's another gym, but go out here on this, and go up what you just mentioned about the parking, go up 2 stairs and do that. But what do you do first? Do you do that first and then the field house? But I'd like to see what it would cost to have a field house on that side.
Yeah. Our immediate need has to be classrooms.
Yeah.
We're at a place now.
And birth rates help a little bit, and everybody around us has lower kindergarten numbers than we have the last few years as well, which is, as much as I don't like to see it, which has been beneficial for us because we don't have an empty classroom. And so we have to address the academic part first. I have not run numbers on that. I have not looked at that. And so I don't have anything for you on that.
Is that land paid for?
Mm-hmm.
We'll use it
We're
sometime.
just trying to get ideas on how to use
I tried to get Leroy to mow it. If you ever got a new mower,
Get a new mower.
Maybe we'll put a U-Pick farm there.
There you go.
Let FFA put a U-Pick farm.
I do not know.
11 million. 11 million. I talked to Mike Key. He was the guy in charge of that.
Did you
Yeah,
build it?
yeah, but you've already got the infrastructure there too. You're talking lot of money for.
It was 11 million. That's what he told me. And that was back, what, 5 years ago? 6,
Hey,
20 million now.
About 20 now, yeah.
Daniel Sharman had a question.
I'm just letting you guys know, Gordon and Henryville schools did a field, project here, it came out for bid a few months back, where they had these 20,000 square foot buildings and softballs and stuff, and it came in at 12.5 million. That gives you an idea, if you across the road there, pretty much. They built 20,000 square foot buildings, gyms. Now, I don't have golden seats or whatever.
Where did they put that? Where were those buildings built?
I would have to go back and
Okay.
look, but it's up there next to the Gordon Henryville School.
Okay.
I can get that.
Is that 12 and a half for both or individually? So about 6.25.
How much space was
4 or
that?
5 months ago.
Said 28.
And that was not built on. That was a brand new project then. Okay.
For those that didn't know, it's Daniel Sharman with James L. Sharman Construction.
Mike.
Last year's tax rate, 51 cents. We did a $2 million solar project, we contact with that. During those meetings, we said that was going to be a neutral tax rate. Now our tax rate is 60. We're just asking what made our tax rate go from 51 to 25?
That was part of it. Part of it also, operation. We maxed out on our operational ask this year. It's a big chunk of it. We've got to buy buses and do a lot of other things. This was the first year since I've been here doing the budget that we didn't get all that we asked for on that. And so that was part of it as well, the operational tax. It did go up there some. We've got the 17 dropping off after. In 27, we've got 2 different things dropping off. The 17 is dropping off, and the 27, or the operational referendum, are dropping off as well. Those by themselves take care of that increase. And so, we did say that there would be a little bump, but it would essentially stay neutral because those are coming off. Yes.
I can say it's going to go back down to 51 cents, but you're saying for 2026, we have 13-cent increase.
Yeah, that's what our tax rate is now.
2027, go nuts.
The operational referendum letting that sunset would take care, that'd wipe that out by itself. More than that. Plus the 17 bond series is coming off as well. But what'll happen on that one, the 17's coming off, the 18 is bumping up. And so that will take that. But the operational referendum letting that sunset, right now it's at 14 cents. You got a 13-cent bump. That would wipe that out. If nothing else changes.
And on that same scenario, talking project, 5.48. What is happening?
We, hold on just a
On
second.
the referendum, what would that do to your property taxes?
Yep. We've got that
10-year
information here.
repayment would be 19.09 cents. A 20-year repayment would be 12.28 cents.
Say that one more time.
A 10-year repayment would be 19.09 cents. And a 20-year repayment would be 12.28. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes. Yep.
That's for $5.5 million project.
And again,
$5,460,000. That's 1% of net assess or assessed value.
and that's an estimate, and it's based off of 5%. So like when we sold the bonds, we got a much better deal than 5%, but that's a ballpark figure.
So essentially, they would get a $5 million for $5.5 million.
Potentially, yeah. And then again, that's why we show the corporations. We'd still be below the state average, and that would put you there. Yes.
You're just trying to get a number.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And for any of these, there'd have to be hearings, where then all of that, if the board decides to go down that road, where those numbers then would be presented in more detail on exactly what the ask is and all of that. Not on those. And again, the petition remonstrative process, that is where you'd have to go and sign a petition against it. The first mortgage bonding, which is what we're talking about here, the board can do that at their own volition.
A couple of things. I hear a lot of talk about building a gym and a field house. I think that's a great idea, but you all built athletic facilities over there. Put a girls softball field over there. Did anything else in order to have
I haven't gone down that road.
I'm not, we're not, I mean, I'm not against it. I just think that, I mean, 20 years, over 20 years, we've heard that, girls don't have a place of their own, this, that, and the other. And I didn't know that was something that was there.
Yeah, I haven't been down that road, but it would be nice to have everything on campus. Yeah, we appreciate you. Got a nice field.
And my other question is, and it sounds sarcastic when I say this, but you say if we cut all the out-of-district kids out, it would be a $2 million shortfall. That would be $43 million ahead by not having to build another school. 207 of them are out of district, right? So if you take the 121 homes at the interstate that are average, let's say 1.5 kids per house, and 211 kids over time.
Different pot of money. That would immediately hit our education fund, which pays for coaches, pays for teachers, all of those things. These projects, different pot of money. They don't do that. I mean, I see what you're saying though, that you wouldn't have to, but we would have to at that point in time significantly downsize our school corporation. We would be terminating 15, 20, 25 people just off immediately.
But you've got to look at it. If you just say get rid of all out of districts, not only will we lose a bunch of funding, but the classrooms. Dr. Apple has capped classrooms that we can't take, or grade levels that can't take any more students. So, for example, I'm just going to throw out numbers. You've got, say you got 35 students in fifth grade, and you've got 35 in-district students. Well, you could take 5 out-of-district students, and still, because at 35 students, you're going to have 2 classrooms. If you take 5 out-of-district students, then now you're up at 40, and you still only have 2 classrooms. the out of districts will only ever really be a major issue if it tips it over to another class. But Ryan keeps a very close eye on that. So the out of district kids actually are a very good complement to the rest of the community.
My niece and
No.
nephew were out of it. But I think that-
Even with 100, with
Yeah.
141 houses, doesn't mean you're gonna get 1.8 kids out of that either. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, that's-
You're gonna get 5 or 6 or. No, I know.
Not everybody's gonna have kids.
I got it. And I wish it were like that. I wish you had, the 10 kid families that we had back in the 70s. And we don't. No, I get it. No, yeah. But if it was like that, we go, oh, that'd be good. But we're getting like 3 kids out of 150 homes. Which is okay, I guess. But I mean, it's like killing us. But
So we did a little bit of research on the new subdivision. I didn't drive by there and count how many houses are there, but I think there's, James, is there 15?
Last I heard, 17, 20, something like that.
yeah, there's more than that.
Okay, so Ryan pulled all of the addresses, and we've currently got 5 students that live in that new subdivision. So the average has been historically 1.6 students per household.
Yeah, that's the number.
Yeah, that's a number that historically has been used. Well, we're at 5 out of 20 houses. That's a significant difference there.
Well,
So
not all 20 are occupied.
okay, so not all 20.
No.
Okay, well, I see a lot of cars come out of
Yeah,
there.
having a
So,
hard time with a half kid too.
but we pulled that data. So
Yeah. 8 or 9, maybe 10.
Right, I can get you that updated number.
okay.
One more question?
Go ahead.
So when do we, it sounds like we're already brought up on that, rate of students sitting in the building. Do you have like an estimate of when you think?
A few years ago, we looked into them. It depends on if you buy them or rent them. But then what we didn't factor in, it's more difficult, the utility costs, because they would have to then go in that parking lot probably. You'd have to run the utilities, you'd have to do all those things through there. Really expensive. We've got the numbers from about 3 years ago. Haven't looked at it again right now. But then it also comes to where it's needed. Is it a high school? Is it an elementary issue? And so where we're at right now, where we're exceptionally tight right now, is the elementary. Again, if we had 3 kindergarten classes this upcoming year, and we were in the same boat this year, we would have to move the special education room somewhere else and shift at that point in time. But we're at the point now where we're already looking at kindergarten roundup, trying to figure out what that number is. But we're at the point now that if we think that's going to be large in the spring, then we're ordering immediately and trying to get it in for the fall. I can get that number to you from a few years ago. I don't want to misquote it. And it didn't factor in anything like that. But you're looking, depending on if you rent or buy, renting them is probably the best way to go.
I bring that up first, just because there's a.
Correct. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
And with that, I think if we went that route, could be-
Say that again.
we're told into another school district because we're on the same school, and you just can't, the student kids have to go from.
Yeah. We're at a place right now. We're very fortunate. As far as school corporations go, there are very few of us that have the size of reserves that we do. Mr. Morris was wonderful financially, and he took over a place where we were in bad shape. So we're not there as far as that goes. We're lucky right now that debt wise we can have some options. I think we're a long way away from that potential. Who knows what 10 years down the road looks like, but right now, I don't foresee that possibility.
There was an article, it was a little bit over a year ago, and I don't remember who had it, but it came out of Indianapolis. But it said that if you're under 1,000 students and you're looking for a superintendent, consider consolidating. Was what I mean. There's probably going to be a new push for that in the very near future. Anybody under 1,000 students.
What they're wanting, that came from the State Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
And so the push isn't to consolidate the schools, to leave the schools, because they've tried that before, and a lot of legislators lost their jobs. Indiana, we've got some larger cities, but primarily we've got a lot of rural people that don't put up for that. And so what they're wanting to do is busing and some of those things to maybe consolidate. What they don't realize is if you go back to the old model in the 50s and you have one county superintendent, we're also going to have then an assistant superintendent for this place and for this place and for this place. It saves nobody any money. But that was a push from the Chamber of Commerce is where that came from.
So it's not really consolidation. It's more of the one superintendent over the whole county.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? Eric?
Maybe I heard that wrong.
Yeah, no.
Give us a high-level overview of what you're considering highly financially stable.
We
Where those funds lay.
we've got we are one of 3-4 corporations in the state of Indiana that have 100% of our annual budget and reserves. The state of Indiana used to say 15% of your annual operational costs. That's everything, not just your budget, because you always build your budget larger than what you spend. But they suggested you had 15% on hand in cash. And I say cash, but not really, now they've upped that to 18 to 25%. We were at 135% and still able to, make substantial gains with our teachers and pay them same as everybody else, and up to instructional assistants. And so again, financially, we are there. What you can do is make the transfers. If you come to board meetings, you see up to 15%. We moved $4 million a few years ago into what's called Trust Indiana. It's run through the government. That ends, it gets interest that we incur. Some of that goes to teachers. We've got about $6 million sitting in our education fund. And we go through this every January, go through them all. I can probably pull the presentation up and send it to you. And then operations is sitting at about 2.5 right now, which our larger corporations, we probably have more money in our operations fund than they do. But we're also buying buses, so we don't have to lease buses or do those kinds of things. So when I say we're financially stable, that's what I mean. We've got more cash on hand if we needed it than really anybody around us as far as our budget goes. Correct. If something happened and there were drastic cuts, we are in better shape than any of our neighbors to withstand that. Well, and at $2 million a year, that cushion would be gone in a heartbeat.
The out of district.
That's what about $7,087 is the average for the Lanesville kid, and so you take the number of out of district kids, and so you're essentially $2 million.
I can't see.
I like some of the creative questions that we got. If we could possibly, so if there were some encouraging things with this possibly being on a referendum because that's what we're actually taking. Let's say we do these, say we say no to, what's the time on looking for any of these? As a parent in the school, maybe with the air issues, or maybe, you know, we even talked about in the school, all, you know, all the files, all this, like, there are things that, so there needs, and what scares me is that with potential new schools, we had a similar, so, you know, we're pushing towards that we need to get it, but like, what's the timeline if we don't go that route? And is it kind of open-ended when these next potential steps might be considered, or are we gonna get pretty serious about, you know, if not this, then this, potential next step?
I would assume, and I don't want to speak for the board, and they may say otherwise. I would assume within the next couple of months, they'll have a direction on where they want to go. Any of these other options, then you're not bound to a November referendum or November election day. And so theoretically, if they sit here in April and they say we're doing one of these things, they could get that ball rolling even faster.
Yeah,
That's a valid concern.
Sure.
But I would-
You're in your head thinking, how far is this can going to get kicked down the road?
As one board member, I would venture to guess that if the decision is made not to go forward with the referendum, which is kind of where I'm leaning, because of the short time, because of the impact to the tax rate, because if it's turned down, you got 2 more years to wait and you go in for less money. I would think with the turnout in this room, if we don't get a timeline pretty short and make decisions, we're going to be in trouble with you guys. You know. Yeah, I mean,
And we just
you
got,
should. Tell them, Miss Nancy.
Jeffrey just gave us these tax rates at the last school board meeting. This is dated January 20th, 2026. So we didn't have these numbers before then. So that's what's kind of pushed, because once if we want to go forward with a referendum, it's 6-7 month project, and that means beginning of March we got to hit the ground running fast.
yeah, and Jeffrey wasn't a delay either, because we started a couple of years ago with signs on the board. I wasn't on the board, but there were signs over there. You all go over and write down what you want. And there was 3 different options. There was a bunch of choices for every option. So then we had to get, Dr. Apple then got a hold of some architects and engineers to get concepts about what we could build and what we would do. Well, those guys don't work terribly fast, so it took a couple months to get hardcore numbers so then Jeff could get an impact on the tax rate. You know, nobody's going to sit here and say, well, I'll tell you what, let's just spend $32 million, let's vote for it and go, and then all of a sudden the tax rate's this high. You'd hang us all.
And then the legislators threw everything out the window.
Right.
Yeah, last year Senate Bill 1, it changed everything.
Donnie, you commented a couple of times, and, you know, I know what you're talking about. Maybe not, I didn't know this before I sat in that. So you said if we don't get it, then we have to wait, and what you're referencing is if there's a referendum on the ballot in November.
And it's denied.
It did not pass. Then you cannot put another one on, obviously, until
The next
2
year.
years, because you can only come on for 2 years. And when you ask, the ask has to be less.
Less than what you
So
asked.
if you ask for 65, you can't ask for 65. Ask for less than 65.
And that's the reason we just don't want to throw darts out there.
Right. Because then you waste.
And plus it costs money, but I mean,
6 years to get from 65 down to 30.
yeah.
Which is why, like, maybe we, and I did some now.
It's not
36
28.
is probably gonna be closer to 12, maybe.
Yeah.
Don't think so on that.
Oh, well.
But something, so then maybe we're talking about,
Keep roads in the area, recommending school. So we talk about small and residential, and fill that. But people are still have kids. Growth, can't stop growth, so you have to stop having kids.
You still growing down
Yeah, I got one of them, I got a third one.
Oh, man. Congratulations.
Good for you.
Brian Bob's guys.
Go ahead, Robert.
Brian Bob's guys.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just one other comment. Not just because we got Mr. Sherman here in the office, but I just want everybody to realize if it wouldn't have been for the Sharmans 4 years ago, when one of the Sharmans came up to a board member there at the Heritage Weekend and said, that land over there, we're thinking about putting homes on there, and we already have the drawing done. Is the school interested in that? If that would have had houses on there today, we'd be talking about different issues here. At least we have something to spring to here in the next year or 2, 3 years, whatever. And thankfully, that'll be a nice campus over there down there. Thanks to the Sherman for not being community.
Can I ask you what you did I'm sorry, Bob, I didn't mean to stop you. What did you do over at board? You said, what was the addition? I haven't been over there in a while, been a couple of years. Do you know where that was built? They're tight. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see what they built. Yeah, I'd like to see it. I mean, I'd like over. Okay.
He just wanted you to tell him what direction so he can drive up there and look at it.
I just want to go to the wagon wheel and have lunch. That's all. I mean, it's right there by the track. I mean, I'm just joking. That's not that good. Anyway.
Well,
but I want to see what you did. Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we've sat here for, there's one way in the back.
Correct, yes. Architectural estimates.
Average cost of an average elementary school.
Yeah.
If it gets put out to bid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if they come back and say, guys, we can't do it for 65, it can be 75.
Mm-hmm.
Where is?
In our situation, things would get cut.
Yep.
There's no, but typically, and again, Mr. Shireman, whether you go, whatever process you go, CMA, CMC, whatever it is, typically those things are safeguarded unless it's the board a lot of times saying, we want this addition. Those things are some cushion as well. But once you start getting levels like that, then you start cutting things.
Think about even like this. Okay. You know, come on. We all know it's wrong. You know, we do that, then that's what the problem is up.
Yeah. The bonds are sold for what the bonds are sold for, and the bonds are sold in advance. And so there's no other will you dig into your own pocket or do something else. It's if you go down that road and you put it on the ballot, you have to list what the scope of the project is, and based on the median household and those kinds of things. And so once those bonds are sold, that money comes in. That's what's used for it. But you're not going to go any higher than that.
I remember if we met here,
No, those soft costs were factored in.
What's the next step after this meeting? Because, nobody's gonna vote for $1 $1, probably not even 30 cents after Silver Creek shut down there, like 94%. So you might get lucky to get 20.
The,
So where do we go after this meeting?
the board will have to make a decision on where it is they want to go.
We've got preliminary drawings on different options here.
I'll
Back
speak
to-
for this board member. You're probably looking at several smaller projects within a reasonable tax increase, and then we move the next one.
We live here too, Clay.
Right, because
Well, we live
You
here
know,
too, so we don't want to pay.
like they were
anything.
saying back there, we know we're short classroom space in elementary. We can accommodate things, but it's just not ideal.
Yeah.
So I would like to see something going on, adding a couple classrooms, 5 or 6, whatever it is, within that $7 to $10 million figure in a
What
year or
dollar
so.
figure goes into a referendum?
Anything.
Whatever the board wants.
Okay, whatever the board wants
Yeah.
to turn into a
Mhm.
referendum.
Well, well, if we do the first mortgage bond thing, that doesn't require a referendum because there's stipulations in statute that if you keep the dollar level below a certain portion of your taxing authority, which our assessed valuation is 545 gross million, that's why we could borrow 5.4 million. We could do that without a referendum.
But a referendum, we can ask for anything we want.
Yeah, dollar amount. Yeah.
Because then the referendum ends up that the published tax rates based off what you're asking for.
I mean, explain it another way. Last Monday night, council had a meeting. There's a lot of issues with our jail. Projected cost to repair just HVAC systems and all that, when I was on the council, was $25 to $30 million. They have the taxing authority to go up to 1% of assessed valuation, which meant the council could pass a resolution to bond up to $19 million. That's where they were capped. Luckily, they put it out for preliminary bids, and the bid package came in a lot lower than the estimate because I guess contractors are hungry, maybe costs have come down, but the 20 to 30 million or engineering estimate was about a $17.8 million job. But that 1% is the level at which the state deems the county eligible to issue tax increase enough to service that debt. So it's your bonding capacity is based on how much taxes you can raise to pay that. And it's capped.
Kenny, you had a question back there.
Kenny Smelts?
You got it? Oh, go ahead. You're fine. I saw Kenny's hand go up. I'm sorry.
He was calling for her.
I don't think that. Have a lot of. So is it, to me, 45 million, that's twinkling on time. If you know it right. Building a home.
This school.
The numbers we were given, the 35, or the Dr. Apple got from the architects, were estimates on an elementary with a gym, 35 million. An elementary gym. An elementary with a high school sized gym, 45 million. High school complete complex new gym, the 65 million.
High school with gym.
With a high school
With
gym.
a high school?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
so
that was a separate facility over there, and I don't think those dollars, unless we really cut costs, would do anything here.
no, those numbers would not. So if you're looking at a high school, you're really looking at 70 to 75 million if you want to address something here. Same way with an elementary school, 45 does that. If you want to address something here, then you're looking at probably 50, 55. Do those things.
And if you built a high school by itself, a 912 building, let's say over there, you would
This would be
renovate
elementary.
this building into an elementary middle school. This would always be used. It's never going to not be used for something. Okay, I'm just saying that's kind of some ideas. If you built an elementary school, then you would do it a middle and a high school. You know, you still continue to keep the same building in use. You would just have an additional building. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Another project.
that's true. That's another issue. Yep. Yep.
So if you take the current, it was like 13 cents fall off.
Right.
And then another cent. So I don't know what that equates to in $4 million. Use that, go ahead and maybe convert the courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
With your, and you're not gonna see a huge change on that tax, and then we'll push for a rest, for a field house, or something like that,
Something,
for a 12.
Yeah.
And do those, get those rolling simultaneously so that you're getting the referendum involved in the tax, or the election year, and then start the academic stuff.
Sure. You can do it. You can do a $5.5 million project. You can do a $2 million project after that. You know, just
Right.
so you can
But
kind of
trying
spread
to
them
go
out.
and get the referendum
Mhm.
going
Yeah.
on the
And
election
you
year,
hope
and
your
then-
assessed value goes up
Mm.
during that time.
You got a lot of
That's
options.
That's the biggest thing. Doug?
What's the impact on the operational budget when you're talking about a new building? Because you have to have heat, air, personnel, on and on and on. So the operational budget, those funds come from, that we have in our new complex. Because you're talking about having how many people?
Yeah, as long as growth comes, we're in good financial shape to do that. Yes.
I
think Dale had a question.
Stepping back in time. On the split classrooms, are any of the classes splits that are built?
No, everybody's just together.
They're all
together.
built up.
Yeah, because he started right after Mr. Morris left. Dr. Apple started capping per. If he saw fifth grade start getting,
We're just filling in class.
yeah, and that's the only way. That's like I said earlier. That's the only way that getting rid of out of district kids could ever make sense is if you spilled over into a whole nother classroom. But Dr. Apple's keep an eye on that.
And again, we're fortunate that we've been pretty stable in enrollment. Most corporations, with the exception of some up around Indy, and especially the northern part, but even down in Center Grove, most school corporations are hemorrhaging kids left and right. I don't know of a single school corporation in the state of Indiana that does not take out of district transfers. Financially, you have to, just to keep the doors open, keep the lights on. Say that again. If for some reason the company that's building houses right now goes bankrupt and they don't build any more homes, or there's never another subdivision when we anticipate. Say that one more time.
Wait a minute. No, they're talking.
Oh, hell.
The board.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Baseball field down there and how many teams travel in every weekend if they have.
But Redessa, Hey.
We don't have space.
Redessa, The only reason we're talking about it is because we're currently out of space. Now, it doesn't mean we have to build $45 million building. Doesn't
Right.
mean that. It means that we need to adapt to what we have. Okay. And right now, and you know that we're hurting for space. So can we do it this way? Can we build this much for this much money and not kill us tax wise? We're throwing out numbers, all kinds of stuff to you, just so you know what's going out there. Doesn't mean we're going to do it. Doesn't mean you're going to want to do it. It means here's an option, here's an option, and here's an option. Okay. And all we're doing is kind of throwing it out there. And we certainly want to be not crazy out there. Okay. With this, we're trying to be very comparable to what we can do and what we need though. Space. Okay. And here's how much money we can spend, here's what we can do, and not kill you tax wise, kill me tax wise and you tax wise. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, I don't know how much this would play into the space problem. I mean, I'm foreseeing that it would, and I don't know. Some of us have kids that are going to be under the new diploma requirement. You have a child that's a freshman or younger than undergraduate. The state is pushing for career pathways to be developed. We can't develop career pathways because we don't have any space. We don't have the space for a construction space for everything. And that's the trend in education. If you have a freshman in high school, he has to declare if he's going to the Army, or if he's going to college, or if he's going straight to the workforce. And the Indianapolis surrounding corporations are already doing that. They're already setting up these things. So, I understand $65 million. I don't like that either because I live in town. I'm not just Franklin Township. I'm in town, so I'm higher taxes. But realistically, if we don't have these pathways, if we don't have the opportunities for these kids, then we're going to lose our own kids. We're going to lose.
We can phase it.
Somewhere else in high school.
Now, build that later.
We don't have it now. So that's the first consideration, I think, before the board.
We're just.
Chip.
Yeah, one thing I'm gonna say, and then I'm going home.
It's getting late.
I think a lot of people in here tonight doesn't realize, start eating lunch. This
10:15, and the last one is done at 1:18. 5 different lunches.
Kids that eat that first.
That's being looked at with one of the designs of
space.
having another cafeteria.
We looked at an additional cafeteria where the library is now, essentially over there. We've looked at blowing out these walls. I had conversations with Miss Denny about what it could hold.
Mm-hmm.
If we need a second cafeteria, second kitchen, if we can just transport over. And we've started those discussions.
Right.
Go ahead.
I was just thinking how difficult it is to try to predict your number of students that are going to be here, growth, and everything. Because it's hard to really predict that. But then when you have, not just the CSC private schools, but I'm thinking more in terms of like the homeschool movement, which over 20 years ago was not beginning, and now it's much larger. I mean, there's thoughts going on at the state level talk. What's the prediction for number of students? Increase, decrease, stay steady. Is that been factored in at all? Because
I haven't seen a study from the state level on that, but that's why we always look at transfers in and out. What it doesn't track are homeschool, and we know that that's a significant amount, especially here in a small rural area. And so, rule of thumb, you try to look at 5 to 10% of what you have and factor that in.
Ryan's looked. He compiled this data for us from Silver Creek down to Tell City, up to Scotts-Salem, over to East Washington. I'm just looking through here. There's Silver Creek has a plus 52. Orleans has a plus 101. Springs Valley is plus 12. We're plus, what was it? Plus 115. And West Washington is plus 201. Everybody else is losing students or a net loss. So that tells you where people want to send their kids. So even if there is a homeschool trend coming up, people want to send the students to these schools, which includes ours.
That's true. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
The education fund, not what they don't support is the operation fund.
Yeah. They don't support that. I agree with you. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's the conundrum. Yeah.
That's what makes it work.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get it. Yep.
Anybody have any more questions?
Dave Bringman and
Oh, Dave Bergman, sorry.
In light of what Mr. Powers said earlier about energy capacity, in light of what the over here of the school there, do they have the capacity to handle that? Big number of things we have to look at. So, do they have capacity? Things that have to be passed. We start to here. Do they have capacity available for a school system?
Yeah. Yes.
He said yes.
We
have the same number of commodes. We're just splitting it on. Or the same number of shares.
Okay.
Any more questions from? Okay, I think we'll call it a end of the meeting.
I just want to say I appreciate everybody coming out. I think everybody that's been involved in this school corporation for the last 30, 40 years was really excited because we're looking at a new school. Then the dollars reality hit. And as a board member, I wanted to make sure, and everybody else did, but I can only speak for me. I wanted to make sure everybody knew what we were thinking or where we were kind of going, that is a big hit, and we can't ask our community that when we voted not to proceed with the referendum, we didn't get hung.
Yep.
What did this meeting accomplish? What are you guys gonna take from this meeting as a school board and move forward?
What we're going to take from this meeting is there's not a tremendous amount of opposition to not do the referendum, and then to look at alternative options to get some space on this footprint within financial constraints that the community seems that they can deal with.
Yep.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.